Hello, my name's Rod Matthews, and I believe that we may be spending some time together on Sunday, the 19th of July, at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. And the reason why we're spending time together is because, as I understand it, you have spent a considerable amount of time becoming a bit of an expert and increasing your expertise in the area of diabetes. And as such, you're in an excellent position to be able to work with your peers to reduce the stress and frustration that can be associated with dealing with type 2 diabetes patients. Also to be able to help increase their clinical outcomes, but also to be able to look at what it is we can do to increase the likelihood that your expertise is sought after, listened to, and acted upon. And I guess there's a couple of ways to be able to share your knowledge. There's the formal way and there's the informal way. The informal way is, of course, the conversations that happen in the corridor, in the car park, in the cafe. But also the formal way is where you may invite your peers to a meeting. You may put on, some food or whatever, and make a short presentation about some of the things that you've picked up through your membership to this particular group. And I know that having worked with specialists, GPs and nurses and their presentation skills in the past, I know that one of the things that they often say to me is, Rod, I get very nervous beforehand, if I'm honest with myself. I get a little bit nervous. But more importantly, what they say is that nervousness diminishes when we start to get some sort of interaction with the audience happening. Often what happens is the nervousness dramatically reduces when we start to really engage with the audience. And so what we talk about here is the difference between being self-conscious and being audience conscious. Self-conscious, if you think about the phrase, what's happening there is that we're conscious of the self. So what's happening is that we are thinking about our sweaty palms. We're thinking about the sweat on our brow. We're thinking about our shaking hands. We're conscious of the heat rash that's coming up the neck, sort of thing. So self-conscious, we're conscious of the self. Presenters that seem to be comfortable in front of others, people who are comfortable sharing their knowledge, are often those presenters who, where their consciousness is on the audience. They are conscious of the audience. And the way this is done is, of course, first and foremost, is to know your material, is to know what it is, the subject matter area that you're going to talk about. And clearly you do, being a member of this group. There's some other things that we can do as well in order to reduce self-consciousness and increase audience consciousness. And there's some points along the way to help us think of this. First of all, in when we are preparing our presentation. So when you're preparing for the opportunity to share your knowledge, then it's very easy for someone who is self-conscious to start by asking themselves, what do I need to tell them? And that's a very self-centric way to start preparing your presentation. We can start by becoming more audience conscious by taking that question and turning it around a little bit and asking, what is it that my audience would like to know? And if we start from that position, then we are more likely to start from a position of what are the challenges that my audience is facing, what pain are they currently suffering, how can I alleviate that pain? And if we start by asking those questions, then we are increasing our ability to be audience conscious. Prior to the presentation, What often happens prior to a presentation is as our people, as our peers are arriving, is that it's very easy to be conscious of, oh, is the laptop working? Does my file speak to this particular laptop? Is the projector working? Again, we are conscious of our own particular area. So something that we can do to increase our audience consciousness before we share our information in a formal way is to get there nice and early, of course, and to make sure everything that works so that as people arrive, we can be present for them and we can engage with them in conversation. Doesn't have to be, of course, about diabetes, it's just general conversation, and that will help increase our ability to be conscious of the audience. As we actually present. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people mention that when they start to get less nervous is when they actually engage with the audience. So something we can do there is to build in some questions, increase our ability to ask questions during the presentation. Think in terms of questions rather than in terms of statements. Perhaps you can even open your presentation by asking a series of questions to gauge the knowledge and the expertise of the group and their current experience dealing with type 2 diabetes patients. And that way we can start to get a conversation going and that will increase our ability to be conscious of the audience. And also, of course, at the end or after we have shared our knowledge, there is an excellent opportunity to become more audience conscious by asking questions like, how did we go? Was that useful for you? Did this hit the nail on the head? Was this worthwhile? If we had to do it again, what would you like to hear more of next time around? What would suit your purposes? Asking these sorts of questions after the event is going to increase our ability to be audience conscious next time around. So, with that in mind, thanks very much for watching this video and very much looking forward to seeing you on the 19th of July.